I know you've been involved with other headless builds before. What made you decide to use a headless commerce platform in this build with Enso Rings specifically?
Yeah, when I first started looking at headless solutions, because we decided pretty early on after I joined Enso, headless was the direction we ultimately needed to go, and it was just a matter of how and when. And so the first thing I did is I went and I looked at the open source community. I used to work in the open source community, and I really love it. And I found a lot of different things out there that were available to help, propel us to kind of a headless build with Shopify. And I went and tested almost virtually all of like the open source options that were viable, right? And what I found is that they all had really good things, but they were very limited in what they could offer, or that were going to require extensive, modification or extensions to be built on top of them in order to make them support even just kind of our basic functionality. So that immediately told me, the developer inside myself, like, hey, this is an opportunity to go build something awesome. So I'm like, okay, let me go build a proof of concept, and I will just go see if I can build something that's headless. So we went to the Shopify APIs. I started building. Several weeks later, I had a proof of concept. But again, it was one of those things like, could it get us where we wanted to go? Absolutely. Could it get us there in the time frame that we had to us? No, it couldn't. It was going to take too much time to get there, and it was going to be too hard to maintain with our development team long term, given the other project calendars that we had coming up. So, unfortunately, time and money is not unlimited resources, and we just couldn't really realistically do both. And so we needed to get there really quickly. And so I was then went and looked at every other solution I could find on the market. And what I found there was interesting too. I found a lot of companies that are like, yeah, we'll do headless Shopify. We can do that all day long. And what they really offered was a team of developers that would build you a custom solution rather than provide a holistic solution to start with. And so when we looked at Nacelle further, it was really clear really quickly that you guys had built a great framework on top of another great framework, Nuxt, and that it was going to provide us a lot of different pathways to get where we wanted to go without making us conform to one particular architecture or mindset, which was really important. I can talk about that more later, but flexibility is one of the most important things in my book as a developer. And for our business, at Enso Rings, the landscape shifts very quickly, and it's something that as a development team we have to be able to adjust to really quickly. And clearly we couldn't do that before just on Shopify's native liquid framework, but on Nacelle we could. It was really neat.
And I think it brings up an interesting point, because I think a lot of folks, and myself included, when I was running the agency, I made this mistake where I underestimated the value of a backend system that can actually ingest the data and then you can query it direct, right? And
yeah.
The value of that system, it's when you write everything out and you're looking at the Shopify storefront API and you're looking at maybe an API associated with the CMS, you could diagram it all out in Whimsical or whatever you're using for diagrams, and it looks great on paper, right? And it seems to work really well. But then I think we certainly discovered at the agency very quickly, once we were in production, oh gosh, there are some big holes in this architecture, and how do we solve that? And I wonder if you want to speak to that at all, because it sounds like when you first started this endeavor, maybe that piece wasn't required, but then you realized with Nacelle, oh, that's actually what we needed to really get to market fast and have it be production ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we can go build cool stuff all day long as developers, but at the end of the day, what's going to be the biggest bang for our buck? And while we love building cool solutions, we were never going to get as much coverage for the different feature sets that we need to support through our own code base anywhere close to this at the time it would take just to implement Nacelle. So I mean, you guys had done all that hard legwork for us, which was great. So yeah, we absolutely loved working with it, and it was one of those things that we could see the value right away.